Leader Pelosi, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
An honor to have you. I thought we might start with a bit of news overnight. You may have seen that UN inspectors were in Syria looking for evidence of chemical weapons, were apparently fired on by snipers. Over the weekend, we heard from the White House that there was increasing evidence about the use of chemical weapons and the possibility, maybe a greater possibility, that we would get involved militarily over there. Do you want to offer a point of view about this?
In terms of our getting involved militarily, we have to define our terms.
Right.
First of all, what has happened in Syria, 100,000 people have been killed. The use of chemical weapons places their leadership outside the circle of civilized human behavior.
Right.
It's children, 1 million refugee children. And that isn't even counting those who have been killed. So there has to be some way to stop this. Americans are weary of war. I don't think any show of hands will show a lot of people eager to go to war. But what military actions can we take to take out their anti-aircraft facilities and things like that? What can we do from the sea? What can we do with other countries? Because this has to stop. 100,000 people.
Would Congress support a presidential action on this? And would the Democrats, would your Democrats support this president taking some kind of action of that sort?
I don't know that this has any partisan aspect to it. I think that people are all concerned about the humanitarian disaster that is there, that it depends on what the president suggests.
Right.
I would hope that he would have some consultation with Congress about what that decision is.
But you think it's his call and not Congress's call? Because at least a couple of Republicans think that it's actually Congress's call, as they've thought in the past, to make some kind of a move of this.
Well, I do think that the president should consult with Congress so that there's some consensus about the decision that is made.
Right.
And that, I think, makes it even more understandable to the American people.
I remarked to you earlier, Leader, that it seems like every day there's some massive news event. Yeah. We live in a time when there's no break from this stuff. And really, if you think about the 8 months or so that the president has been into his second term, he really hasn't had it easy. We as a country haven't had it easy. Every time you turn around, whether it's Egypt or Edward Snowden or Syria, whether it's the fight over the Affordable Care Act or the gun debate in this country, really we're at sort of a heightened state from a news standpoint.
Not to mention immigration, comprehensive immigration reform.
Issues related to women, whether it's abortion around the country in the various states, or, I mean, we really just haven't taken a break at all from this stuff.
Well, this place and with everything that's happening in the world, history is in a hurry.
Right.
People want solutions, and we have real-time communication on every subject before we can verify what happened. Something else happens. So how do you have judgment about where how we should proceed? But how we should proceed is in the most collaborative way and most bipartisan way to try to get results, to try to get solutions. Yeah. It doesn't mean that these aren't challenging issues and hard to resolve, but you have to try. And so some of the things that you mentioned, for example, that I mentioned, immigration, I think that because the public is so supportive of immigration reform, and that the message in the election of 70% of Hispanics voting Democratic for the president and for Congress sent a message, an epiphany to Republicans in the Congress that this is something we should probably give a higher priority to. So I'm optimistic that that will pass.